Okay, let's get right into it. We tend to think about our health in ways we can see and feel, right? Our weight, our energy levels, how fit we feel. But what if one of the single biggest threats to our long term health is completely silent, building up for decades inside our own arteries? And that silent threat, well, it has a number 78%. Honestly, this is a statistic that should make every single one of us stop and think because it shows just how early this whole process gets started. So, where does that number come from? It's from this pretty startling US study that looked at people under 35 who had died in accidents. On the outside, they were in the prime of their lives, healthy, young, but internally, a completely different story. A whopping 78% of them already had fatty plaques starting to build up. This proves it's not just an old person's problem. It's a process that can kick off as early as childhood. Yeah, it's a sobering thought, isn't it? It really forces us to ask a tough question. Not about how you look in the mirror, but what's actually happening on the inside, under the hood. So today, we're going to explore exactly how this happens, how you can actually test for it at home, and what you can do about it. First up, we need to understand the enemy. Let's break down what this plaque really is and why it's so incredibly dangerous. The fancy medical term is atherosclerosis, but really, just think of it as a slow, silent hardening of your arteries. Over many years, fatty deposits, cholesterol, and other gunk builds up on the inner walls, making them stiff and narrow. And here is a massive misconception. We tend to imagine a heart attack happens when some huge old plaque finally blocks an artery completely. But the reality is often the total opposite. The majority of heart attacks are actually caused by the smaller, newer plaques, the ones that are soft, inflamed, and unstable. So the real kicker isn't just that they break, it's how they do it. Picture that unstable plaque is covered by a really thin wall, almost like a piece of plastic wrap. Something, like inflammation or stress, causes that thin wall to suddenly tear open. Your body sees this as an injury and immediately rushes to form a blood clot to fix it. But in the super narrow space of an artery, that helpful clot becomes a complete roadblock. It cuts off blood flow instantly. And that, right there, is your heart attack or stroke. Okay, so if this is all happening silently, how in the world are you supposed to know what your risk is? Well, believe it or not, there's actually a pretty simple test you can do yourself to get a clue about your artery health. It's called the Ankle Brachial Index, or ABI for short. It's a totally non-invasive way to check for blockages, and it's a surprisingly strong predictor of your overall cardiovascular risk. And you can do it with just a standard home blood pressure monitor. Here's the play-by-play. First, measure the top number, the systolic pressure in one arm, and jot it down. Then, lie down and just chill out for a few minutes. Next, measure the systolic pressure in both of your ankles and take note of whichever reading is higher. Then, measure your other arm. To get your score, you just divide the highest ankle pressure by the highest arm pressure. That's it. So what do the numbers mean? A score between 1.0 and 1.4 is considered normal. You're in the clear. But a score below 0.9 suggests there could be a blockage. And on the flip side, a score above 1.4 might mean your arteries have become stiff and calcified. If your result is anywhere outside that normal range, it is a very clear signal that you should talk to your doctor. And don't underestimate this simple little test. It has a 95% sensitivity for detecting serious arterial problems in your limbs, which makes it an incredibly powerful screening tool you can use right now. But hang on. What if you exercise, eat right, and you feel great? Surely you're protected, right? Well, not always. And this next story is a perfect and frankly kind of scary example. This was a real patient, a 57-year-old guy who was the absolute picture of health. He ran marathons, he ate well, he passed all his stress tests with flying colors. I mean, he thought he was invincible. But a deeper look revealed a shocking truth. His arteries were 2 decades older than he was, just filled with dangerous plaque. But this discovery became his turning point. He started an intensive treatment plan, and in just 1 year, he managed to reverse 20 years of damage. His story is just such a powerful reminder that feeling healthy isn't always the same as being healthy. So what was going on here? Turns out, fitness and diet are just part of the picture. This marathon runner had other risk factors: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and a history of smoking, even though he'd quit 15 years before. But the real kicker was his family history. His genetics put him at high risk no matter how many miles he ran. And this brings us to one of the most powerful tools we all have for taking back control of our arterial health, our diet. So let's look at what to avoid and what to load up on. At a high level, it's actually pretty simple. On one side, you've got the artery wreckers, things that promote inflammation and plaque. On the other, the artery saviors, foods that are just packed with fiber, antioxidants, and healthy fats that help keep your arteries clean and flexible. So let's get specific on what to dial back. We're talking about ultra-processed junk, sugary drinks, trans fats lurking in fast food and baked goods, and processed meats like bacon and sausage. These are some of the absolute biggest offenders when it comes to damaging your arteries. And on the flip side, check out this incredible list of foods to embrace. Legumes and oats for their cholesterol-lowering fiber, beets and leafy greens to improve blood flow, oily fish and flax seeds for their anti-inflammatory omega-3s. And yes, even a little bit of high-quality dark chocolate for its artery-relaxing flavonoids. How cool is that? Diet and lifestyle are our best tools today, but what does the future hold? Well, science is working on some truly revolutionary approaches that might just change everything. The key lies in understanding a natural process called efferocytosis. Now, it sounds complicated, but just think of it as your body's internal garbage disposal system. Its job is to clear out dead cells before they can cause trouble, like accumulating in arterial plaque. But as we age, this cleanup crew can get overwhelmed. And this is where it gets totally futuristic. Scientists are developing a new therapy using tiny nanoparticles that essentially give this cleanup crew a massive boost. These particles are designed to go in, find the plaque, and reactivate that cleaning process right where it's needed most, helping the body clear out the dangerous buildup from the inside. And the results in animal trials? They've been incredibly promising. It's a breathtaking possibility, isn't it? It leads us to this final huge question. We're still in the early stages, of course, but just imagine a future where clearing out your arteries could be as simple as getting a single shot. The science is moving fast, and it offers incredible hope for tackling one of the biggest silent killers of our time.